Hi everyone, welcome to WW Designs. It's Nikki here, and seeing it is Mass Make March, I decided to challenge myself to grab just a small pile from the huge tub of bits and pieces I have cut out from magazines and see if I can create some decent looking journaling cards. Now, I've already prepped the bases to save time. All I've done is glued down the decorative piece on top of a piece of grocery bag. Just cut out a bit, cut out a matching sort of size of the background piece that you want to use, glue it down onto the printed part of the bag where the branding is, because you don't want to see that on the other side, and then trim out your card when it's all dry. I have also rounded the corners of mine, and as you can see there, I've cut out some ephemera, and you end up with a lovely journaling card, plenty of writing space on the back, and they're not too thick. So this first one, I have glued down 3 strips of separate pieces of paper. I didn't butt them up together. I overlapped them a little bit to end up with a nice smooth covering. And then I found these cute lemon pieces, and I decided we'll go for a little bit of a Mediterranean look with this one. So I'm just using my glue stick, which is trying to run away and escape from me, to glue all this down. I can't see any reason why I need to use any wetter glue, especially when you're playing with magazines. If you use a really wet glue, you can end up with wrinkly pages. So I find Uhu is the best. Doesn't make your magazine pages wrinkle, but does a really good job holding everything in place. So this idea came from that lemon piece I just put down, because it was on the border of a page, so I didn't have all the leaf and everything, and I thought I can just put that down on the left border. And then the lucky last little piece is this Hello Sunshine bit that I cut out with a circle punch. Couldn't think of that word. And voila, the first one is done. And we've got nice little Mediterranean summery vibe going there. Then for this next one, we have a Mr. and Mrs. all dressed up beautifully in their Art Deco style fashion. And we have a heart, and we have a few words, and just this other little square scrap that I had. It has like little gold dots printed on it. I thought that might sort of just add a tiny level of glam to this one. So we're putting that down first. Then we're going to put the heart on there. Just gently sort of crossing over a little bit. Now, you will see shortly that I almost had a disaster with my Mr. and Mrs. here. A little note of warning. When you do really fine fussy cuts, using a glue stick is actually not the best idea. They split in half. So not the ideal situation, but well, we'll try and make it work. And I almost got there, but then one tiny little bit broke off. Now, determined not to have my poor lady only have half an arm, we're just going to add a tiny little bit of glue, and we're going to use the tweezers to try and nudge this piece back into shape. What I must have done is put to the left where you can't see, I've got my junk mail, which I use as a base for when I'm putting glue on things. So when I've glued everything together, I then throw them in the recycle bin. But what I must have done is put these two down somewhere where there was a bit of an excess glue from my previous gluing, and it got stuck. And when I tried to lift it, because it was so fine, it just died. But as you can see, I've managed to rescue it, and it looks fine. Unless you look really closely, you wouldn't even know that it had broken. But just a word of warning, make sure you use a clean space, or actually maybe a little bit of wet glue instead, that you can just very gently dot onto a very delicate piece of fussy cutting. Or you may end up with something broken like I did. But anyway, it's all good. And honestly, I am just making journal cards and I'm not sending them to the king or the queen. So we're all good there. And then I just have these words that were part of the heading on the page that I got those cute guy and girl from. So we're just popping that down. And the next one is done. So what I'm going to do is this particular video, I'm going to include on my playlist rainy day projects, because this is a really fun and easy thing to do on a rainy day when you just feel like crafting but you don't know what you want to do. Why not try some random journal cards? It'll make you use your imagination. And you just saw then because I have glue all over my fingers already after only doing 2 of them, grab a wet wipe or grab a face washer, keep it close by, and just clean up your hands regularly, because those little sticky bits when you're doing fine work, fine fussy cuts, it just increases the chances of you breaking something. Now what I've done with this one, I've grabbed a piece of baking paper, so it has like a waxy finish. Whenever I'm gluing something down that I want to overhang over the edge, instead of being paranoid about where I put glue, I just put glue down wherever I like and then place it down with some of it overhanging on the baking paper. And you'll see once you've sort of put your pieces down, this is just one large beautiful, I think it's a camellia flower, I'm not sure, it doesn't matter anyway. You can then just very gently lift it up off the baking paper and trim away your excess. So that's what I've done here. Baking paper is fabulous for that. Always have a couple of pieces hanging around on my desk. So you just gently pop it off. I usually move it over and let it dry off, but I'm going to keep going here for now, and it'll be perfectly fine by the time I finish to trim off the excess. Then the next little piece I've got here is actually from a coloured pattern, a cross-stitch pattern. So if I wanted to stitch this, which of course I'm never going to do, I'm past my cross-stitch days, I think. They make great little elements to craft with. So that's a cute little mailbox, I think, with a bird, and it's just all a cross-stitch pattern, but I think it looks really cute on there. And then, of course, I fussy cut a tiny little bee, which we're going to place up there. And I know sort of from a distance you can't really see these little bits as well, but if you're using it in a journal or you're maybe gifting this to someone, they'll notice those cute little bits are there. So we're just going to trim off the edges now. And we're moving on to the next one. I think you know how to trim off an edge. So this one was a whole page picture of a garden that was quite overgrown and green. Then I found this little piece of a colour chart. Same sort of tones, all nice greens, but it just helped break up that busyness. And then I found another couple of words that I'm going to use here. Bright and beautiful. So we're gluing those on. Then, of course, because I had a very limited stash, I had this lovely bright and beautiful idea, but I really struggled to find something to glue down that worked. So we just had to use our imagination here, because I was determined not to go through my stash to find the right things. I thought something's going to work here somehow. And I did found this cute little bird who's nice and bright. And then the next thing I've got is half a plum. Not normally what I probably would have put on a journaling card, but you know what? That's what this challenge is all about. It's just about having some fun, being creative, and coming up with something that works. And there we go. I've picked up 2 things there that have a hint of purple in them, and that will do. Pardon me. So this next one here, we're going to actually do one with a little bit of a vintage theme. I'm grabbing my baking paper again because I want to glue this piece across the journaling card, and of course it will hang over the edges. But before I do that, I've grabbed some Distress Oxide or Distress ink. This one is brushed corduroy, and I'm just going to quickly colour those edges before I glue it down, because otherwise then it will be impossible. Then we're just adding some glue. We're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to place this across it and then trim off the excess. This is a piece of, I think from a Daphne's Diary that had some coffee staining already done to it. And then I found this cute little scrapbook image that looks a little bit old world, so I thought that would suit a more vintage style journal card. And then finally, to add to this one, I would have loved like a nice vintage fountain pen or something like that to go on this one, but of course couldn't find that. So this little pencil came to save the day. Then see how easily they lift off? And we just trim the bits off. And then again, we're going to grab the brushed corduroy and just put it all around the edge to give it a true vintage look. So just, as I often say, if you want something to look vintage, just add some darkness to the edges, and it actually doesn't matter what the papers and that look like underneath, they automatically get a bit of a vintage theme. Now, keeping in mind with this, I have used all sorts of different magazines to make these. These are just random pages from my big tub. And if you've been around this channel for any length of time, you will know I love crafting with magazines. So some of this is glossy paper, some's matte. Don't care. It all works. This one here you'll see is now, that's actually a glossy piece, but I quite liked the colours of it. I had no idea what I was going to put on it. And then I went, oh my gosh, I don't know what to put on this one. I didn't want to do flowers again, because I thought, I've already done a flower one. I must be able to find something different. Then I found what started off as a coffee cup. You'll see that very shortly, but I needed other bits to go with it. So I found a little word puzzle page. So I cut a bit of that out. And then I found this very cute coffee, because, you know, I like doing coffee themed stuff because I love coffee. So we popped that down on there. Tiny bit of glue that shouldn't be there. Not that you can see that, but I can. And then the final bit, I was just lucky, I found this heart shape done with hands, symbolising that I love coffee. And voila. That, again, is another one done. Very, very simple, just combining different things and somehow trying to make them work. So this next one here was actually it's a print, it's not a photo of sort of an ocean arrangement. So I thought, right, let's go nautical with this one. So I've got these little palm leaves. I've cut out, from an ad from a local area business. So I cut a little bit of that out. Often find palm trees down the beach. Then I also had these next two pieces were also in a couple of ads. We have this fabulous local magazine that's all about local shops and restaurants and events that happen, and they often have great sort of ocean themed bits included in their advertising, because I live on the Sunshine Coast. So, you know, it's a holiday destination. We have divine beaches. So it's not uncommon for brands to use those sort of elements in their advertising and logos and stuff like that. So that's where I got these two pieces from. Every time I get one of those magazines, I always save those sort of pieces. because my other great love, of course, is the ocean. I love doing ocean-themed decorating on things. And then I found the next bit I've got is an oar, a wooden oar, of which I've cut off part of it because it was way too long, and I thought, that's fine, we'll just use a little bit of it. So we're popping that down. That's actually a photo of the oar. And then the next bit, I had this whole page of little surfboards. And this wasn't an ad. I can't remember where it came from, but they were all these different surfboards. So I liked the size of that one and that nice little pop of colour. And all I have to do is just trim the corner of this because it's not rounded. So we'll just do that. And that's another one done. Oh, and I just noticed an air bubble in my coffee cup, so trying to get rid of that. Don't want that there. And that's the ocean-themed one finished. Then the final one I'm doing here, this was a photo, that exact size in a magazine. And because it has that little frame printed around it, I did not do I didn't round the corners on this one because the frame makes part of the picture and it looks cute. But I'm just grabbing my dauber again and just distressing it very lightly around the edges because it sort of has a bit of a vintage vibe. A lot of hand sewing things often do. And then I found all sorts of pretty pieces to go with this. So the very first one I'm putting down is it's a drawing. It's not a photo of DMC thread. So we're just collaging all these little pieces on top, but trying not to cover the actual little bit of embroidery stuff there up in that top corner. We have a roll of thread. And we've got a cute little pin. Again, a little bit hard for you to probably see on camera at the moment because it was very delicate. And then a very cute little pair of scissors. Pain in the butt, fussy cutting those, I can tell you, because it had all this white stuff in all the, like inside the handles and stuff. But it was too cute, I had to do it. And then one more little tiny piece. This was also on the same, from that cross-stitch bit that I used before. That was in the same cross-stitch. So I thought I would just add that up the top because it is stitch-related. And we are done. So here they all are. All sorts of different themes. All sorts of weird and wonderful things put together. But look, they make great journaling cards. They can be great gift tags. Send them to people in Happy Mail with a thank you for swapping with me or something on the back. It's just fun. But it's a great way to get your imagination sparked and just come up with some combos that you might enjoy. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments box below. And I would love it if you could give this video a thumbs up. Until next time, stay safe and stay healthy. Bye for now.